Got a question from an audience member. This is pretty much something that I think now, if you're on the PlayStation side, you might want to take a very close look at. The conversation now is the brand recognition. Sony outsells Xbox, or not Nintendo, outsells Xbox 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, and all of the above. And so the brand recognition is something that's going to ring true for, Sony and PlayStation when it comes down to it. The one thing I have to say though is, and I'll go ahead and read this comment, that way we can pretty much jump into it, is that the gaming market has a lot of volatility to it right now. So Charles Barnowski said, and I posted a video about a combo that I did on Mortal Kombat 1. He was like, oh, sick combo there. No, it was just a basic combo, but thank you anyways. He said, also, we need a breakdown of how exclusivity debacle is fundamentally different than the streaming wars. Just because you can stream Disney Plus and Netflix on all devices, it doesn't mean that licensing most of their content to the rival service for a short-term payout is good for business and brand recognition in the long run. Now, this is a very interesting post because it minimizes, remove this MJ thing from here. The reality, that should have been Silver Sable, by the way, or Yuri, or Black Cat. Anyways, the reality here is that these businesses are not here necessarily for brand recognition as their primary aim. Their primary aim is to earn, income, be profitable, and if they have to, they leverage brand recognition on the back end of all of that to still achieve the exact same goal, right? I'm not saying brand recognition is not important. However, I'm saying that if you're able to meet your targets, you're able to meet your goals financially, you're able to make money, then brand recognition is, for the most part, not relevant. In fact, some businesses require discretion for the most part to be able to earn money and gain significant position. This is something that I think a lot of people are missing in the conversation. Somebody left a comment today and said, these PlayStation hyper fans don't understand strategy. Now, I wouldn't say that for all PlayStation fans, but I will say some of the folk who comment on this situation, even the talking heads, are very unaware of how strategic these businesses move. So Charles Barnowski's question here, basically asking how it's different and licensing and blah, 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 doesn't understand that in the streaming service, which is the Netflix, Disney Plus and stuff, there are winners and there are losers, and then there are posers, and then there are some that are just trying to hang on for dear life. Like, the way Paramount's been going through a lot of stress right now in terms of a lot of their different IPs, the way that Disney Plus saw a lot of changes, and, it was interesting for them that they had to go ahead and start tweaking their content to be more family friendly, to be able to meet their customer base. Brand recognition didn't help Disney there. They had to adjust to the market. This was not, anything that had to do with Netflix or whatever it is. Disney had to basically realize that they were not Netflix, and Netflix even understands the market so well that they have a variety and a plethora for everybody of every walk of life, every ilk, every political affiliation, every religious, organization, whatever the heck it is. Netflix understands, and it has that much content. So again, that is one side of business, because Netflix is not necessarily ready to sit here and leverage only brand name. It wants to primarily stay profitable, primarily be making money, and then if it needs to, it leverages its own name to acquire shows and stuff. Because other people, the posers, like, Warner Brothers in this regard, I'm just going to say it from a lighthearted perspective, has been putting a bunch of their stuff on there. A lot of them, WB stuff, The Flash just left, The Batman was on there, like they're big movies. I think Aquaman was on there and all that. They put it all there for a while so that they could get some cash influx in that regard. So the short term that you think is short term is them trying to hang on for their life. They would have gone broke, is what they were admitting to. Like, we would just not make money. So again, the console wars have never made sense. Let me tell you what's going on. Somebody said something that I thought was very interesting. They said these companies, these gaming companies, Microsoft, Sony's PlayStation, Microsoft's Xbox, and Nintendo's systems have groomed gamers to thinking that, a platform and exclusivity is what really, works together as this, cohort. They've basically made you feel that way. They've taught you inadvertently from a very, very early time of your gaming that this is how things should go. So antithetical to every other business strategy out there is this gaming industry that is big. Yes, it's big. There's a lot of, a big piece of the pie for everybody. And then at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you realize that, oh, if the market gets saturated, just like the entertainment industry, just like the streaming industry, everybody has to now pretty much act accordingly. And that's what the streaming industry is seeing. Because a lot of big players went in because it's media, it's Hollywood, it's all of that. So by and large, there really is no difference at the end of the day as to who makes money. Now, in this particular question that you asked me, I'm doing a small experiment because I think it's an experiment that I think is going to pretty much go ahead and, in a sense, expose what it is that I'm trying to, point out. You said this particular comment, and I asked you a question. I said, have you ever heard of Berkshire Hathaway? You said, yes, of course. So I asked you, I said, how many people do you know actually know the name of that company compared to Netflix? If brand recognition is actually the way to go, because believe you me, Berkshire Hathaway is one of those companies that has what I think is stupid capital and stupid leverage. This is a Berkshire Hathaway Class A stock. One share of the Class A Berkshire Hathaway stock is $675,760 as of closing today. This thing used to be about $300,000 like 5 years ago, and it's grown significantly. And I can almost check with a high level of certainty that many people who know Netflix have no idea what Berkshire Hathaway is. Yet, I'm sure they own some of Netflix. If they choose to own Netflix, they would. I don't know if they do, but if they wanted to, they could easily do so. Then you look at, say, a company like Sony. Sony's stock prices is $19.88 in their share price. On a good, great day, those stocks and those shares will hit somewhere around $20. Microsoft, on the other hand, is basically times 20 in terms of market valuation, market cap. So brand recognition, you may claim that Sony has it, but deep pockets, good profits, market position and all, oh man, that is not even a question. So again, when you're talking about the whole streaming thing and blah, 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 and all of this, I have to ask you and say, do you really realize that none of these companies are doing anything unique to put themselves in a position where they're going to be different from the whole market and then somehow tell the market, we don't care what you're saying. They are all subject to the market. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what your warm exclusivity thinks, doesn't matter what you think is short-term or long-term or blah, 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 blah. If you cannot run the numbers for sustainability on an envelope and you have to basically jump into things like, brand name and blah, 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 as Warren Buffett says, the envelope method, if the deal doesn't make sense on the back of an envelope, the deal doesn't make sense. Walt Disney's company is $108. Netflix is sitting at $828. That is like times 40 of, what Disney is doing, because purely they have focused on entertainment, number one, to stay profitable, to give their audiences what their audiences would like, and all of that. So if you're basically talking about, all of this, they're, like I said, they're winners, they're losers, and then they're posers. So when both companies are actually taking a look at what's going on, sure, we talk about it from the Xbox and the PlayStation perspective, but the underdog is not Xbox by any means. And I've said this before, if Xbox decided to match PlayStation's energy when they were money-hatting games and they went toe-to-toe for them, PlayStation will be out of business by now. But then there's also the side of discretion that I think Xbox requires under Microsoft, which is to make themselves look kind of weak, put their games everywhere so the regulators can have no problem against them when they decide to go for some heavy moves. Because by the time they see that all their games are on all platforms, then they realize and look, well, it's not a monopoly like PlayStation or Nintendo. That's the trap. You are not playing chess. Don't worry. Move the pieces well. You're looking at this thing from a very one-dimensional angle. You don't really see it because they've already said more acquisitions are coming. And in order for them to be able to lower the scrutiny on them for acquisition purposes, they have to make themselves look the exact way that you're seeing them. But again, they require such a discretion to be able to capitalize on the market. I've made my videos about PlayStation so that PlayStation fans may wake up and hold PlayStation accountable to grow and do things in a way that would keep them competitive in gaming. But the hyper PlayStation fans have misconstrued it to be an Xbox coping. All right, we shall see. I hope you know, though, that both parent companies, we're talking about a 20x differential in terms of just market valuation from the stock prices. Do what you will with that. Peace out.